2,051 pages. Monday morning, my hair flipped up in every direction. That's what I got for going to bed right after taking a shower. I didn't want to go to school looking so awful, so I tried leave-in conditioner, the straightening iron, and even wetting my hair and blow-drying it, section by section, just like a professional stylist. But my hair was as uncooperative as Jimmy when he needed to go in his car seat. So I grabbed a rubber band, made a ponytail, and slipped on a t-shirt that said, "Bad hair day," over a picture of bunnies in striped prison uniforms. Then I went to school, excited about seeing Derek in math. He was still at the top of my boyfriend wish list, but before I had a chance to talk to him, Mr. Leva called me to his desk. School hadn't officially started, so the room was mostly empty. He said, "I'm glad you came early so we could talk about your test." My whole body slumped. I failed, didn't I? Now, he said, as if calming a baby. If you knew you were struggling, why didn't you ask your sister for help? Sometimes students learn better from their peers, and you've got the best math student right there in the house. I'm sure she'd be happy to tutor you. I looked up at him, wishing my stare could zap him like a stun gun. He must have seen how angry I was, because he said, "It's just an idea." "A bad idea," I grumbled. Mr. Leva studied me a moment to figure me out, I guess. After a while he said, "Well, you didn't complete the test, so at this point you haven't technically failed." He showed me my paper. Some of the answers were wrong, but others were correct. Mr. Leva explained how I was on the bubble, and how if I got the remaining questions right, I could pass. "Go to the library," he said, "and complete the test. Take the entire hour if necessary, and remember to show all your work." I felt so grateful for the chance to complete the missing questions. Maybe a bad hair day didn't have to mean a bad math day, too. I wanted to salute Mr. Leva and say, "Sir, yes, sir." After all, I felt like a soldier going to war against math. Maybe this time I'd be victorious. I gladly took the test and headed to the library, getting there just as the tardy bell rang. Since classes were scheduled for visits, the librarian let me use her office. "Make yourself comfortable," she said. So I did. I pushed aside her papers to clear a spot. Then I readjusted the height and the armrest of her chair, took a pencil from a cup on her desk, and turned up her radio. To loosen up, I popped my knuckles and did a few neck stretches. Time for battle, I told myself. Math is your foe, but it can be conquered. The first problem went like this. Mary went to the store to buy a dress. The price of the dress is $40, but a sign announces that the store is offering a 20% discount. How much will Mary pay? How was I supposed to know the answer? This was the most ridiculous problem on the planet. First, what store was this? Because stores like Macy's had sales all the time, with big red signs that said 20% off. But it was never that simple, since the small print always began with, "Discount does not apply to." How could I know if the discount applied to Mary's dress when the problem didn't list the exceptions? Second, when was Mary buying the dress, and what kind of dress was it? What if the sale was happening right now in the fall? What if the dress was a sundress? Would Mary really buy something she couldn't wear for the next 6 months? Next, what condition was the dress in? Sometimes the clothes on sale were stained or missing a button, which meant Mary could argue for a bigger discount. That's what Mom did. She always got a few dollars taken off. Finally, how much money did Mary have? Did her parents expect her to pay for the whole thing, or did they plan to pitch in? Did Mary even have parents, or was she an adult with a job? I couldn't stop fretting over the questions. How could the word problem ignore such an important detail? This had to be a trick. I tapped the pencil on the desk, wondering what to do. "Need more information," I wrote beside the word problem. Then I saw in bold print, "Show all your work." Suddenly I understood. Mr. Leva wanted me to explain what kind of information I needed. I grabbed a sheet of notebook paper, since there wasn't enough room to explain on the test. I wrote down everything that might affect the price of the dress. The store, the small print on the ad, the style, the condition, the season, and even Mary's personal situation. The remaining questions were similar, so I wrote "need more information" again and again, explaining why each time. My hand got stiff from all the writing, but passing the test was worth the pain. After 40 minutes, I was done. I put the librarian's supplies back in order and headed to the circulation desk to say thanks. But then I spotted Carmen. I didn't want her to know about my math test, and I didn't want to talk to her, especially in front of a cute guy like Joe Leal. He was checking out the display of graphic novels. Sure, everyone knew Carmen and I were sisters, but she was a genius while I was not a genius. But if they didn't see us together, maybe they'd forget. So I hid behind the office door, and while I waited for a moment to escape, I spied. As usual, Carmen had on her prep school uniform with its plaid skirt, knee-high socks, and blazer, and as usual she carried a stack of books that was as tall as Jimmy. The books were about to topple over, so she walked. She swayed like a circus clown on a tightrope. Carmen approached a table, but the students were laughed and waved her away. She approached another table, but one of the girls threw a purse on the empty last chair and said, "We're saving this." When she approached a third table, a guy shook his head and said, "Don't even try it." So Carmen lugged her books to the counter. She wasn't far from me, but luckily she faced the other way. I should have said hello, because part of me felt sorry for her, but another part felt like telling her, "That's what you get for being little Miss Factoid all the time, and making me feel like a dummy." Okay, so maybe I was a dummy, because I needed extra time on my math test, but at least I had friends. Carmen went directly to the last page of each book and wrote something on a piece of paper. She had just finished going through the stack when her teacher approached. "What you got there?" she asked Carmen, who answered by reading out titles. "When a parent has cancer," "Is pollution making us sick?" "Breast cancer," "What every teen girl should know," "The disease source book," "Cancer treatments and their side effects," and "The complete medical guide for teens." "That's a lot of reading," the teacher said. Carmen shrugged it off. Then she pulled out numbers she'd written down. "It's 54 plus 212 plus 340 plus 298 plus 424 plus 723 for a total of 2,051 pages. If I get to keep these books for 2 weeks, that's 146.5 pages a day, minus the pictures and glossaries and tables of contents and indexes." She glanced at the book spines again. "These books are okay," she said, "but they're written for teens. This," she held up the thinnest book, "has pictures, not photographs of tumors or blood cells, but illustrations like the kind of the kid book. What do doctors read? That's what I want to know, because I want to be a doctor when I grow up." "You'll have to visit a university or hospital library for doctor books," the teacher said. "They're very technical." "I know, but I don't mind reading technical stuff if it gives me the real answers." "I don't think anyone has the real answers for cancer, but I'm sure the medical books are more detailed than these." "That's what I want," Carmen said. "Details." The teacher patted her shoulder. "Why don't you start simple, okay, sweetie?" Carmen nodded, then took the books to the checkout line. While she was busy with the librarian, I slipped out without letting her know I'd been there. Later at home, Mom showed us her compression dressings. She was wrapped from armpit to hand. Carmen, Jimmy, and I couldn't help touching the bandages. "You look like a mummy," I said. She laughed. "Mummy, not much difference." "You should have taken me with you," Carmen said. "I really wanted to learn." "You learn more in school, mija." "No, I don't. I have to draw pictures." She reached in her backpack and pulled out pages of lines looping over themselves, forming odd shapes that she had colored in. "I finished my work before everyone else, so this is what I do. I try reading, but—" "But what?" Mom wanted to know. Carmen glanced at me. She probably didn't want to admit how nerdy she was. "Nothing," she said. "She doesn't read because she's too embarrassed," I guessed aloud. "She doesn't have any friends." "I have friends," Carmen said, all offended. "Name one." She crossed her arms. "No, because you don't know them." "I don't know them because they don't exist." She stared at me. If her eyes were boxing gloves, I'd be knocked out by now. That's how angry she looked. "That's enough," Mom said. "Carmen, go outside and water the plants for me. I'm not supposed to get my wraps wet. And Chia, get the towels from the dryer and fold them." "You're giving us chores?" Carmen whined. "About time you helped out," I said as I headed to the laundry room. After I folded towels, I noticed that the furniture in the living room needed dusting, and that Chia Pets needed watering, and Jimmy's toys needed to be put away. When Dad came home, I helped him with dinner, migas again, even though it was my night to clean the kitchen. Then I bathed Jimmy and read him a bedtime story so he could go to sleep. Finally, at about 8:30, I had time for homework. By then, my feet throbbed and my back ached as if I had been standing all day. I had trouble concentrating, not because I felt distracted, but because I had a headache, probably from stress. I shouldn't be doing homework this late. I should be watching TV or chatting with my friends on Skype. I should be sleeping. My phone rang. Shantae. When I answered, it was all panicky. "Erica, you have to help me. I'm in so much trouble." My mind raced. Were her parents in an accident? Did her house burn down? Did she humiliate herself in front of one of the guys on her boyfriend wish list? "What's happened?" I asked, fearing the worst. "I ran out of ink," she cried. I sighed, and even though she couldn't see me, I rolled my eyes. That girl had more drama than a reality show. Can you help me, please? Sure, I said. What do you need? I'm forwarding a file for my social studies class. Can you make 50 copies? It's an invitation to a presentation about the election. I'll buy you a new ink cartridge if you do this giant favor for me. Of course I'll do it, no problem. I knew I could count on you, she said. A few minutes later, she emailed the file. I made sure the printer had enough paper and asked it to print. Maybe now I could do my homework and finally get some sleep. But when I pulled up Shantae's invitation from the printer, I noticed that they weren't flyers but cards, which meant they had to be folded. More work, but what could I do? I already told Shantae I'd take them to school tomorrow. So I started folding, trying my best to get the lines straight, because if Shantae were doing this, she'd get them straight. She was a perfectionist. Never a hair out of place or a shoe that didn't exactly match her outfit. When I was about halfway through, Carmen walked in. Still doing homework, she said, as if I were too dumb to get it done in time. I ignored her, kept on folding, and realized that I was getting tired. There was no way I'd be able to concentrate on my own assignments. Carmen got into bed. After a minute, she sat up. Do you think Mom's going to be okay? She asked. I shrugged. I don't know. But do you think? I don't know, I said, impatient. I had so much in my mind, and I didn't want to deal with Carmen right now. But can't you guess? No, because I can't see the future. Do you want me to lie? Do you want me to pretend everything's going to be fine? Never mind, she said, turning away and hiding under the covers. A moment later, I heard 1, 2, 3. What are you counting now? I asked. I wanted to know. The fan's on, she said. I glanced at our little fan, the one that turned back and forth. Every time it pivoted, it made a little sound. It made that sound 23 times before I finished folding cards. My homework would have to wait. If I woke up extra early, maybe I'd have time to do it then. $532. The next morning, Mr. Laver returned my test. I failed even after the second chance. I just wanted to hide from everyone. I let my hair fall over my face as I stooped over my backpack to put away my test. I didn't notice Derek until he knocked on my desk and said, That's funny. How could he joke about my low grade? Your t-shirt, he explained, probably noticing that I had no idea what he was talking about. I glanced at it. Today I wore a shirt with a dog dressed as a cowboy, walking into a saloon and saying, Who shot my pa? His arm was bandaged. I guess it reminded me of Mom's lymphedema, but I couldn't explain that to Derek. He'd think I was weird for having a mother with a bloated arm. Was that your test? He asked, staring at my backpack. Yeah, I sighed. My grade's lower than the aquifer level. He frowned. Each night the weatherman told us about the aquifer, our underground water supply. San Antonio was in the middle of a drought, so we had water restrictions. Cheer up, Derek said. It's just one test. Everybody has a bad day. I bet you aced the next one. Easy for him to say. He didn't live with a genius sister. But I acted as if it didn't bother me because I like Derek, and no guy wants to be with a girl who feels sorry for herself. Who was I kidding? I did feel sorry for myself. At least I had social studies next, my favorite class. On my way there, I ran into Shantae. Do you have the invitations? She asked, her hands ready to take them. Sure, I said, reaching into my backpack. I pulled them out and gave them to her. I can't believe you folded them, she said, surprised but happy too. That was so nice of you. You saved me a lot of time. You didn't want me to fold them? I asked. You didn't have to, but I'm glad you did. Now I don't have to skip lunch. Thanks a million. With that, she took off her zebra-striped pumps, clacking on the floor. I replied to our conversation last night. She didn't ask me to fold them. I did all that work for nothing. When I stepped into my social studies class, I mumbled hello as I took a seat by my friends. Patty didn't seem to notice my gloomy mood, but Gumwad sent a note saying, Are you okay? I wrote, I guess. He looked at it and frowned. Are you okay? He wrote again. Circle yes or no. I circled no. What's wrong? He wrote back. I don't want to talk about it. He glanced at my note, and then he took out a clean sheet of paper and started to draw. After a while, he sent me a picture of a cat hanging from a limb, 2 hands reaching up to save it, and he wrote, Remember the card I gave you when your mom had her operation? So that's why it looked familiar. But why was he sending me a picture of a card he gave to my mom? My life was so hard enough without Gumwad confusing me with mysterious riddles. Luckily, Patty got tired of passing The notes between us, she said, will you two stop writing notes to each other and just talk when class ended? And then, an eternity later, class ended. So you guys, during lunch, Patty said as she grabbed her things to leave. Wait for me, I said, but Gumwad interrupted. Hold on a sec, he told me. Soon everyone was gone, including Mrs. Gardner, who had stepped into her storage closet while the class emptied out, and since she had a conference period next, the classroom stayed empty. Are you okay? Gumwad asked. You were all fidgety during class. Do you have to go to the restroom? Why didn't you ask Mrs. Gardner? She's real nice about hall passes. No, I said. I don't have to go to the restroom. I'm stressed. I held up my mood ring to prove it. Why? You really want to know? He nodded. So I told him, my words as fast as a caged hamster, sprinting in its tiny little wheel. In 2 or 3 minutes, I blabbed the whole story about math, my mom's fatigue and fat arm, my dad's quiet rules, my sister's nonstop counting and medical facts, and how everyone bragged about her extremely intelligent brain, and my little brother, who was starting to think that I was his parent. I told him about the chores I had to do and how I was such a long way from getting 500 names. It's too much, I said, and there's no one I can talk to at home, and all Ileana wants are boys, and Shantae about running for mayor, and Patty's an awful listener because she's always complains. You can talk to me, Gumwad offered. He was the last person I wanted to speak to, especially with all that gum-smacking, but how could I say that without hurting his feelings? Plus, I didn't want it to feel sorry for me. I hated when people felt sorry for me. So I said maybe, but it's easier to talk to girls. Gumwad sat there and thought quietly for a minute. He didn't even chew his gum that was in his mouth. Finally he said, don't worry, I'll figure something out, I promise. Just then Mrs. Gardner came out of her storage closet. What are you still doing here? You better hurry to your next class. So we left, Gumwad running through the hall so he wouldn't be late, and me dragging my feet. I walked in a daze, as unaware of the surroundings as Jimmy when he got a new toy. During third period, Ileana sent a text. Where were you? Because I didn't stop by her locker, as usual, between classes. I bumped into a guy not realizing it was Chad until 5 seconds later, but then not caring about the brief close encounter. And when I heard Shantae's pumps clicking behind me, I didn't turn till she tapped my shoulder. She said, remind me to tell you about last night's dream, before rushing to our next class. Usually I had some sassy comment about her silly dreams, but I couldn't think of one sassy thing to say. I felt totally lost. I couldn't stop worrying about math. I really thought I did well on the test. I had put so much effort into those questions. I showed all my work, every detail, so where did I go wrong? How could I have failed? It just didn't make sense. Unless, of course, I was dumb. That had to be it. Whatever math intelligence was supposed to go into my brain went into Carmen's instead. That's why she was the genius while I was the moron. Honestly, I was too confused to tell the difference between a letter of the alphabet and a number. I took my science book to English. I forgot my locker combination and walked into the bathroom instead of my fourth period class. The only thing I knew for sure was that I had issues. Lots of issues. No wonder my mood ring kept changing. It went from black for tense to pink for uncertain to white for frustrated. I kept waiting to see blue, the color for calmness and peace, but no such luck. With all the craziness in my life, I couldn't see blue if I looked at the sky. When lunchtime arrived, Ileana said, where have you been? As soon as I got to the table. Nowhere. Hiding. Bad day. Why? I don't want to talk about it. Her face was full of worry, but she didn't press the issue. Patty said, what day isn't bad? And Shantae said, here's something to cheer you up. Another dream, I guessed? This one's about your mom, she said. I leaned forward. Good news? Yes. Will she be cured? Ileana asked. I don't know, but she is going to win the lottery. Pretty cool, right? Ileana and Patty cheered, but I felt a little disappointed. Winning money was cool, but only if you could buy a cure for Mom. In my dream, Shantae went on, your mom's at a convenience store, all decorated with pink streamers, like when my aunt had a shower for her baby girl. That's weird, I commented. I know, right? She paused before returning to the dream. So your mom gives this cashier a Snickers bar. Wait a minute, I said. She never eats chocolate. Well, she should. Apparently chocolate brings her good luck, because when the cashier scanned it, Confetti fell from the sky, and a big band started playing. At the convenience store? Patty asked, all skeptical. Of course, that's where the dream took place. Since when do convenience stores have live music? Since I started having my dream, Shantae said. Can it continue now? Patty nodded. Next thing you know, the cash register drawer shot out, and a number flashed on its screen. The anchorwoman from Channel 5 said, Congratulations, Mrs. Montenegro. You're the winner of $532. He handed her a check while a dozen photographers took her picture. Wait a minute, Patty said again. When did the news guy and photographer show up? Who knows, Shantae answered, getting impatient. It's a dream. They just appeared. Let me finish, okay? Ileana laughed. You mean there's more? Shantae ignored her and turned back to me. Meanwhile, your mom kept saying, I can't take this check. You have the wrong Mrs. Montenegro. I never bought a lottery ticket, so how could I win? But no one listened. They just wanted to party. Suddenly, all of the shelves and chips of candy bars disappeared, and the store became a dance ball. Are you sure you weren't dreaming about Derek's party instead? I asked. I wondered that too. The streamers, confetti, and dance floor didn't really fit, but the clearest image was the $532 that flashed in the cash register. So this dream was definitely about your mom. My subconscious mind is probably merging two realities in your mom's big win and Derek's party. I guess, I said doubtfully. So you know what she needs to do, right? Before I could say anything, Shantae answered her own questions. She needs to go to the convenience store today. Tickets are only $1, and the jackpot is up to $12 million. I thought you said she was going to win $532, Patty said. I did, but my predictions aren't completely accurate, remember? There's always one detail that's off. That's why we have to interpret them. Are you sure it's the prize amount that's off? No, Patty, I am not sure, Shantae said, punching out her words because she was getting impatient again. Why do you think I've been telling you my predictions after the fact? My dream interpretation skills are still in the development stage. Okay, Patty said, I didn't mean to get you mad. Well, stop being such a critic. The conversation moved towards things we could do with $12 million. Ileana wanted to make over so she could attract the cutest guys. Shantae wanted to finance her political campaigns, and Patty wanted to buy her own island so no one would get on her nerves. Nobody asked what I could do, probably because they knew I donated it all to cancer research. All of a sudden, Gumwad arrived. Hi, Ollies. Why are you late? Patty asked. I went to the library. So when did you skip lunch to go to the library? He shrugged. So where are your books? Shantae said, all suspicious. I didn't get any. I was looking for quotes, the kind that cheer people up. He reached into his backpack and pulled out a spiral notebook. It was almost new. All I could tell of a few pages had been torn out. He handed it to me. Here you go, he said. What's this? A journal, so you can write down your feelings. I opened it. The first page had a collage of phrases, like U is for unique, the inner me, one of a kind, and settings like Dare to be Remarkable by Jane Gentry. For the long time she flew, only when she thought no one else was watching, by Brian Andre said, It is not given to us the lives of undisrupted calm, boredom, and mediocrity. It is given to us to be edge dwellers, by J. Deacon. This way, Gumwad said, you can have someone to talk to. Well, it isn't technically a person, since it's just a bunch of papers, and it isn't technically talking, since you've been reading instead. But you know what I mean. The next time you get mad, you can write down your thoughts. Thanks, I said. So where's my special journal? Shantae asked, all jealous. I want a special journal with the motivational quotes, too. And I want one with beauty tips, Ileana said. Gumwad reached in his backpack. Well, I only had one extra, but I'll go to the store after school if you want. Will you? That's so sweet, Ileana said. Really, you guys think I'm sweet? Sure, I said, and thanks again for the notebook. It's exactly what I needed. He smiled, and for the first time, he didn't have gum in his mouth.